Hello YouTube, this is Undiz93 coming back at you. So I haven't posted in a while. I've mostly been really busy, but I'll try to get back to posting pretty regular videos. So right now I'm going to do a deck profile on my Chaos deck. Probably be the last deck profile I do on Chaos, unless the Link Joker support is generic enough that I can update Chaos. Also, I'll do a video on my opinion on the two formats and how, in my opinion, the game is going from what standard being around for almost 2 months now. So yeah. So let's get to that. Start with the stride zone. So have my two Chaos Universe Ultimates. What I usually do. So usually explain, so pretty much this is usually like my first and or second stride. It's used to either one, lock down my opponent's entire field if they have, or two, to gain advantage through most of the time buffing up him and then drawing two cards. It's really good most of the time as a first stride, just to get that extra advantage, because in premium you need to maintain advantage, because if not you're going to get screwed over by Mega Colony, OTT. If you face Angie, you have a really hard time against that. So there's not much this deck can do against it. My 4 Chaos Universe, regular Chaos Universe. I still love this card. This card is great. Only thing I wish is that the other art that had came SP, because that would have been really great. But I also love this art. This art is really good. That's a slight tangent, but so this stride I only go into as a first stride if I need to, if I'm facing like Ichi-Tom, to prevent them from playing Tom onto the field, and I already have enough advantage. Other than that, and I have the counterblast for it as well, because since he costs a counterblast, and we're alternate costs a soul blast. He also pairs really well, in my opinion, if you are discarding, if you're discarding close, because then you get 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. Then after that, we have our, let's go with them first. We have our glue ball. At the moment, I don't really go into the stride as much. That's why he's at 2, and he doesn't serve as much purpose with like Ange walking around, and he's pretty much only useful if I'm trying to close out the game and I need that extra like oomph that the deck needs. But other than that, he's just kind of there for space at the moment. Then there's the One of Amnesty Messiah. Since Crisis come out, this card has literally been kind of dead, because if you're in a Chaos Mirror match, it doesn't do anything. Facing Messiahs, he doesn't do anything for you. Face any other deck, he's literal flip fodder. So I'm tempted to take this out and maybe put in Sea Breeze, but the only issue with that is also, well, actually Sea Breeze wouldn't be that good in this deck due to the whole new stride rules. But he just doesn't serve any form of purpose. He also costs counterblast to use a skill, so it's not that entirely that good. Then we have our 2 Chaos Universe Deluge. In my opinion, this card is what makes and breaks this deck. This card, he rips 2 cards out of your opponent's hand for you to discard 1 and put a card in your G zone at GB3, which is really good, and it pairs really well with close. Because if you have 2 closes in hand and minimum 3 soul, rip 4 cards out of your opponent's hand, which is really good. So yeah. Also, he pings your opponent for damage. But if your opponent's at 5, you just chuck units onto their field as long as you're not facing Ange. They're going to just bounce it back to hand. Other than that, really good. Then we have Stark. I've gone into, like, since premium format started, I've gone to this card, like, once. Like, he's good. He's a really good finisher, but he's only good if out of deluges, in my opinion. Because pretty much, hey, if your opponent hits a trigger, like now, they get 10k, which makes it easier to guard. So for him, I pretty much only go into him if my opponent's at 5 damage, and I have enough resources to gun more things out of their hand, like Dubnium and such. But other than that, he's kind of meh at the moment. And we have our G guards, which have Death Sturgeon, which pretty much if there are 2 lock cards anywhere on the field, you still lost 1, draw a card, which is really good. Then I changed out Lacus Karina for Cosmowraith because, one, with how the game is going, having units on the field is becoming less and less. And Lacus Karina has too much of a cost, in my opinion. So Cosmowraith will allow me to, at minimum, get rid of one of my opponent's back row, and it gets more shield, which Lacus Karina didn't. And then the 2 Destiny Guardians, which allow me to just pretty much unlock a column or unlock 2 units, which I most times unlock a column, kill the unit in the front row, and then with Crisis' skill and draw a card. So this card is really good. Then we go on to our main deck. Okay, let me put that there. So my new starter that I run is now Plank Draco Kid. The only issue with the 3 other starters I used to run is Dusty Unicorn. He was really good at the beginning of the game when Link Joker came out, but as like when Carbon came out and you had was it Robin Knight when Legion was around, it's just he got power crept hard, and then he eventually found his way into the main deck since Carbon could search him, but his usefulness kind of became null and void. But with playing Draco Kid now, he, one, allows you to get a grade 3 to hand, pretty much when you have 1 counterblast, and it lets you thin out your deck, which is really good in any card game that exists. Because you're thinning your deck out so you can hit things that are more needed, like triggers. So yeah, I still run my alternate starter in the deck, which is Carbon. Pretty much, if I see him, he just pretty much is free soul fodder to get anything out of my deck, which in most time is either a Zinc, my 1-of Volt line, or my 2 Meton Axes, which I have a possibility I might want to bump up Volt line more, but Meton XX still does its job, but Volt line being a 1-of is still fine as well. Also now run 4 draw triggers. Okay. So to explain why I run draw triggers now, the main reason is, one, it allows the deck to move a lot faster. Since with premium, the games are going a lot faster, and you want to maintain advantage as soon as possible. So this allows me to get to things I need, like PGs for Ichitom, heal triggers for the Zoa Antlion combo, also a heal trigger for when DI gets their support and Death Anchor is able to nearly loop himself continuously because of Assassin. And like, G-Guard, no Assassin. Okay, cool. You're not doing anything anymore. Yeah, so it allows me just to thin out the deck. So then we have our 4 Paradigm Shifts. In my opinion, this trigger as long as there isn't a trigger that outdoes it in standard, which from how triggers are looking at, all triggers are vanillas. This thing won't get replaced anytime soon. So pretty much it is. So pretty much if you have a Starvader Vanguard, you chuck it back to deck. You lock the opponent's in the back row if they have a locked card, and so you get a free crit back into the deck. It helps with deck outing issues. Also helps maintain that extra pressure because your opponent. For these, I try to maintain these in my hand as much as possible and send them back either before or after. Before I start using Deluge to lock down their field, because one, that'll cause them to have to chuck units from their hand over important units they have on the field, like units that have Resist, Metallic Messiah, such and such and such. But yeah, he's too important. The only issue is that he's a 5K trigger. That would be the only issue going forward, is that he just doesn't give the power. Then we have our 4 of Weiss Solet. The only reason I kept him versus the Spark Dolls I used to run is just because Weiss Solet shiny. Because if you're shiny, you I guess stay in the deck. That's how things work pretty much. So yeah, this is just a vanilla 5K trigger, gets crit. Crits are good because won't be at 4 damage or when bit of off tangent story. So yeah, crits are really good. So I had a game when I was facing somebody, and so I sure were using my alternate deck, which is Minerva, which is these sleeves are in. So basically, my opponent was at 2 damage. They no guarded my Minerva. I got a crit, heal, crit. I was like, well, you're dead. I was like, well, power of crits, because I hit no defensive triggers, so really sucked. Also, a thing I'm going to elaborate on when I do get into my into talking about standard and premium is Bushiroad's policy. At the last regionals I went to, which was a couple months ago. So actually, I'll probably stay right now. So basically, so if you have like oversleeves and they have the matted on, so you can't have them on the back of your cards, but you can only have them on the front of your cards. Which for me, I just haven't switched them back. But I've just gotten used to this, so it's fine. But the only issue with that is that they did that announcing wise right when round one started. So everyone and their mother was literally switching around their sleeves. Like they could have done that before the round started. They could have like said that like when people walk in, hey, if you have mad sleeves, you can switch them around. And I found out why, because I guess there was a marked card thing in Toronto, Canada for Weiss, which I also play Weiss, but that's more of like a pseudo casual game. But I also play this kind of casually too. Yeah. So back on topic, because I like to get on tangents. So the heal triggers, they're Starvader, so it works with the entire deck. Also, she allows you to get counter charging. The soul isn't as useful. I maybe have done it in maybe every 7, maybe 9 games. It's only if I need the soul. Like if I have a close in hand to get cards out of out. So and I have no counterblast. To like use zinc, but counterblast would be more useful since most of the time I'm on crisis. Yeah, crisis. Then the grade 1s would go with the best grade 1 in the deck, in my honest opinion. My things. So in my opinion, really good card. She gives you 3 soul and 2 counter charge, as long as you have a Chaos Vanguard and your opponent has a locked card, which in both instances of that, it's nearly impossible not to have that. Because you have cards that let you rip cards out of your opponent's hand, lock cards on the field. So she's really easy to get off, and she gives so much more resources that you would need. We have our 3 Penrose Gates, which he's a stride fodder. If you are striding for a Starvader, which is the main thing. Him and the Deleter stride fodder are the only ones who have this weird restriction that they can only be discarded if you're starting into either a Starvader or a Deleter, which in my opinion is not that bad. The only issue that I had with like the leader one is if like somebody was playing Deleters and they had to stride into Amnesty Messiah. And you can't. He's only a 3 if you're striding into a Deleter. But yeah, so if he's discarded and you have a Chaos with your original heart, you Soul Blast, you look at top 7 and you add another Chaos. So he allows you to deck thin for your Stark target, your other closes from your deck, for Deluge, possible future Stride fodder. That. We have our 2 ofs, which are our Meton axes, and our 1 Volt Line. In my opinion, Volt Line really good, just because he gives that constant pressure of, hey, if this hits, your unit's locked, and it'll stay locked. As long as you keep guarding this, you have to keep guarding it. If not, you've never seen that circle, unless you have a way to get rid of that circle. The Meton X is a bit heavier of a cost for him, that he's GB1, so it can't be used as often as a Volt Line. But if your opponent has 2 or more lock cards, he has a 11k booster and on hit Omega Lock. So that's really good because he helps secure numbers, which is really good. Most of the time, I don't really worry about him unless I need to make those mandatory numbers. Most of the time, my 2s in the deck make guardable numbers that don't need as much more intervention. Then we have our Strange Dragon. In my opinion, Strange Dragon's okay. He does what he needs to do. He can become a 14k attacker if your opponent has no way of blocking anything on their field, as long as you have a Chaos Vanguard. He can also become a booster, which in my opinion is fine. It's only really good if these guys have clogged up your hand. He's also my preferred grade 2 ride target, because I also run him at 4 of, so I will potentially see him more than the other 2s I run in the deck. But other than that, he mostly just serves his purpose in the deck at the moment for like fodder. The other options I could run would be like Molybdenum, but in my opinion, she costs too much counterblast to rip cards out of your opponent's hand. There's she also wants 8k. She doesn't get any additional power. There's Photon. The only issue with Photon is kind of requires guys on the field. And for this, you can always just swing with him having like a booster. They have to guard it, plus a card gets locked on the field. So that gets rid of more things your opponent can potentially do. Then we have our 3 of Dubnium. This card is greatest MVP ever, in my honest opinion. So basically what he does is he has 2 skills. He has a non-GB skill and he has a GB skill. So his non-GB skill is when he's on rearguard, you can Soul Blast kill him and your opponent chooses a card on their field to lock. He's really good if you're facing a deck that has like important units that they need on their field for like future plays. Like if they play a unit in the front row and that's their only unit, you just play him, lock that. They get one less attack that next turn, and even though unlock at the end of the turn, it just sets up so your opponent can save you on hand. That's the main thing. And then his GB2 skill is when he swings, he can counterblast one if you have a Chaos Vanguard. It gives your opponent one of two options: is that they can either lock a card from their hand onto the field, or they could choose not to, and he gets 10k and you draw a card. So either way, in my honest opinion, you plus. So either your opponent is going to put more cards from their hand onto the field, or he's going to get bigger and you're getting additional cards. And then the last grade 2 that I run now is Globia. I'm probably butchering the crap out of its name, but yeah, this card, I took out Colony Maker to replace it with him. Colony Maker, she did what she needed to do at that point in the meta, but Globia now does what she didn't, where he puts more locked cards on the field, where Colony Maker puts units onto the field. But also the same thing I was saying with like Lacus Carina is that most of the time you can't maintain much units on the field, and or most units that are on the field aren't as impactful. So he just pretty much, when he's placed, you counterblast one. Your opponent chooses a card from the drop zone, locks it onto the field, and then he gets +3, and so you have 2 or more lock cards, he gets another +3, so he becomes a 15k attacker. So pretty much your opponent has to guard him no matter what, even if they're on a Force Vanguard, which is really good. Then we have our, forgot all these, are for Orion. In my opinion, it's still a really shitty name because we already have a Torium, which is our 7k that becomes an 8k. That's a topic for another day. So it's a Starvader PG, which there's 4 Sentinels with Starvader in the name. You have the 2 Quartet walls, the original Quartet wall that came in set 17. Then you have the one that came in GPTL 8, which is really bad. Then you have the original PG, which is Prometheum, and then you have Torium. So Torium, what she does is when you guard with her, if your opponent has 3 or more lock cards, you draw cards. So basically, if you're able to keep your opponent locked out of the game, these are literally free. They literally, what's the word? They let you net the loss that you are using for Perfect Guard, pretty much. Then we have our main boys, Chaos Breaker. Bush Road, please let him come back in Standard. I know he'll like that entire format like on his ass, but from what you guys are showing, you guys really don't care anyway about like Vanguard in general, because from what I've seen, that's just my honest opinion. So we have first our Starvader Chaos Breaker Close. His on-right skill doesn't matter as much, which you discard a Starvader. You choose a card to lock, and you Soul Charge. It's okay. His main thing that he's used for is pretty much when he's discarded and you have a heart or you have a Chaos Vanguard. You can Soul Blast one. You punch his card from their hand and locks onto the field. Pretty much that's the main thing that makes him useful, is that he gets more cards out of your opponent's hand, which is really good. And then we have our main boy, Chaos Breaker Crisis. He's your main bread and butter. So when he's placed on Vanguard or when he's stride into a Starvader, you can counterblast one. Your opponent chooses a card on the field to lock, which is really good because your opponent will usually lock cards that they themselves will see as not as useful. But the good thing is that even with like your other strides, you're able to like slowly but surely pick off units. And then his second skill is like once per. It's pretty much a once per turn. And with how once per turns work, which in my opinion would have worked for him now, because so pretty much as once per turn when something's unlocked, you can kill it, drop, which is really good. The only thing I wish, which I definitely know that would never happen if they did make a new Chaos Breaker, is that whenever anything just like leaves the field to just draw, because hey, guess what, Bermuda? Sucks to be you. But yeah, we can't have that because that'd be really, really, really bonkers. But yeah, that is it. I'm going to try to post more videos more oftenly. I've been mostly busy with work and all of that jazz. But yeah, that will probably be my last Chaos deck profile for probably for a while, unless like I said, the support from Standard is generic enough. But from how things are going, and like with how things are like the manga wise, it's either things will end up being generic support with like deleters sprinkled in, or it'll just be all deleter support, which in my opinion, also a slight tangent, is Bush Road. I know you really don't care about premium format because you mostly care about standard format, but when deleters come around, you guys need to ban Given, because even with force markers, Given's a busted card. Because, hey, cool, you're deleted. Given, cool. Here's the stand trigger. Here's my starter. Cool, I have more units. Guess what? You have force markers on them. You have to guard them more. Guess what? It's totally not an issue. The only thing I'm glad for is that they didn't give them Excel, because it's going to make deleters even more busted, because, hey, cool, here's front triggers. But other than that, those are pretty much my 2 cents. My hand, the only thing that would have been like the best out of all of them would have been like Protect, just because deleters barely have a hand most of the time anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But since they're forced to just like maintain like minimum hand advantage, unless you're playing like premium deleters, have like no hand advantage. But yeah, that is basically it. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next upload.